All right, so look, this is how things are gonna go, right? So, a week or two before the season starts, typically I like to make a build guide of the build that I'm thinking about using, and so in this case, I'm gonna pick my what I think were my four strongest builds for the season, and I retuned all of them for this Abattoir of Zir event, and I'll let the video explain what this event is, so that way you can see why I tuned it, and then we'll go through the build, discuss the changes, and then I'll show a little bit of gameplay. I made sure that each of the builds could comfortably farm tiers 90 to tier 100, right? With minimal deaths. You know, if I died, it probably was to something stupid, but that's one thing. But dying to like just not being tanky enough, that's another thing. So if I died to something stupid, I didn't count that. But if I died because I wasn't tanky, then I just kept retuning the build, right? And so yeah, so I'll make a build guide for each of the four builds that I'll be using, just in case anyone's interested. And yeah, so let's go ahead and start the video.
The Abattoir of Zir is an endgame pinnacle dungeon event built into Diablo 4. They're meant to be really challenging for the player. The way it works is it's a complete race against the clock. You jump in, kill as many demons as you can, fill up that progress bar. Once complete, a boss will spawn, kill the boss, do this all before the timer runs out. You will not be able to enter until you complete all 7 tiers of your season journey event. But once this task is finished, go ahead and head over to the Occultist. A new recipe will be available for a blood forged sigil. So you're gonna wanna go ahead and craft one, use it, consume it. Once consumed, a portal will open up in Ked Bardu. It's a big blood portal. You'll be fine, just go in there. Don't worry about it. By completing the Abattoir of Zir dungeon, you will now earn a brand new Tears of Blood glyph. This incredibly strong item boosts rare nodes within its range, but different to Nightmare dungeons, it has a cap 10 times bigger than normal sigils. So I'm curious just how high players can get it to this season.
You will also get a recipe to craft a blood forged sigil, 1 tier higher than what you just completed at the Occultist.
Question time, Alex. What's the highest level I can get a blood forged sigil to?
So the Sigil and Dungeon both go up to tier 25, but this covers a much wider difficulty range than you might be used to, from 25 tiers of something like a Nightmare Dungeon. By condensing this large difficulty curve down to only 25 tiers, we want to make sure that each tier feels like a meaningful goal that you can strive for on its own.
That's awesome. When can we expect to play it?
The Abattoir of Zir goes live on December 5th, 2023.
So this is the rogue build that I'll be using for the Abattoir of Zir event, right? It is almost the exact same build as my Frost Rogue that I had made. The only difference is we had to swap out of concealment, and we had to go with Shadow Imbue. And the reason why is because the problem with Cold Imbuement is it doesn't have very good AoE clear. Like you can freeze things like very easily, but in this event, you know, it's all about how fast can you kill a bunch of monsters and finish the dungeon. So we use Shadow Imbuement to clear out packs of enemies, and then we use Cold Imbuement to burst enemies down once we chill them with a smoke grenade. And I'll further explain all that when I show gameplay, but I'm just going to stick to the gear first, right? So first, for the helmet, you're going to want Frostbitten aspect. This is so that when chilled enemies are hit by our smoke grenade, we have a chance to freeze them. And we deal 25 times increased crit strike damage to frozen enemies. For the perks, you're going to want cooldown reduction, max life, total armor, and 1 set of elemental resistance. For the chest piece, you're going to want damage reduction from close, damage reductions from distant, total armor, and then again 1 set of resistance. And we're going to go aspect of might here. On the gloves, you're going to want crit strike chance, lucky hit chance, attack speed, 4 ranks of twisting blades. And for the aspect, we're going with shared misery. For the legs, you're going to want damage reduction from close, same thing as chest, damage reduction from close, distant, total armor, 1 set of elemental resistance. And here we're going with the Umbrous aspect for the damage reduction. Then you're going to go with Penitent Greaves, so that way we can easily chill enemies. On the bow, you're going to want damage to crowd controlled enemies. This core skill damage, if you can't get it, get whatever you want. And then you're going to want dex and all stats. You're going to want to make sure that on all your weapons and your rings, you have damage to crowd control enemies. And I'll explain that when I go through the skill tree. On the amulet, you're going to want damage reduction from close, movement speed, 3 ranks of frigid finesse, and total armor. It might be kind of hard to get all 4 of those perks. As long as you have movement speed, 3 ranks of frigid finesse, and total armor. Those are the 3 that you have to have, and I'll explain why. And then we're going to go with Ghost Walkers here. On the first ring, we're going with Blade Dancers, and you're going to want damage to crowd controlled enemies, lucky hit, crit strike chance, and resource generation. And it's going to be the same thing on both rings. On this ring, we're going with Expectant. We're going with Condemnation because we're using combo points. And then lastly, on the sword, you're going to want Edge Masters. I was swapping between Edge Masters and Icy Alchemist. Icy Alchemist makes it so that when you damage an enemy with your Shadow Imbue, a chilled enemy with your Shadow Imbue, it has a chance to make them explode and further spread chill, but it doesn't feel like it was activating as much as I would like. So I switched to Edge Masters, and you do way more. It's a significant damage increase with Edge Masters. When I was using Icy Alchemist, I was seeing like the highest crit I was seeing was like 1.7, maybe a 2 million if I was lucky. With Edge Masters, you can easily hit a 3-4 million crit easily. As you can see here on the gear, we're not running Disobedience. And the reason why we're not running Disobedience is because if you look at the build, it has 15,000 total armor. The reason why we want Ghostwalkers on the amulet is because right now our movement speed would sit at 152, plus the 38 from Ghostwalkers gives us 190, which means that we are extremely close to hitting the max attack speed that we can get from Ravenous, because Ravenous takes 40% of your total movement speed, and it converts it into attack speed. And so at 200% you get 80. So that's why we did that there. And so you're going to want to go Puncture. Then you're going to go Twisting Blades. Make sure you get the Twisting Blades that daze. You're going to go 1 point is 30, siphoning 3 points into Siphoning Strikes. You're going to go 3 points into Rugged, 3 points into Weapon Mastery, 3 points into Concussive, 1 point into Trick Attacks, 1 point into Dash, 1 point into Smoke Grenade, going all the way up to Countering Smoke Grenade. You're going to want Dark Shroud, and you're going to make sure you get this Countering Dark Shroud. The reason why we get Countering Dark Shroud is because we have Umbrous Aspect, and we do get the benefits from these perks, even though we don't have this slotted in our skill bar. And so when we have at least 2 active Dark Shrouds, we get an 8% crit chance, right? And so right now, assuming you get perfect rolls, our crit chance is sitting at 43%. Whenever we knock down an enemy, which we'll do very, very easily, we get 12% crit chance, plus the 8 is 20. And anytime we have a Shadow Imbuement up, we get 9. So that's 29% additional crit chance, assuming all those variables go your way. And so you're sitting at about 72% crit chance, which is extremely good. Then you want to go 1 point Exploit, 3 points into Malice. Then we're going Shadow Imbue, and you want to make sure that you take the mixed Shadow Imbuement. The reason being is, so whenever we freeze an enemy, right, if they're infected with Shadow Imbuement, they'll take 12 times increased non-physical damage for you for 8 seconds. Whenever you use Cold Imbuement, you're now using cold damage, so that's your non-physical damage. And anytime Cold Imbuement hits a frozen enemy, it does 40 times increased damage. And we already do 60 times increased damage to frozen enemies. So this is where you're going to be able to hit for your 3-4 millions when you have a shadow infected enemy and you're using Cold Imbuement, and when you hit them with your Smoke Grenade, because your Smoke Grenade makes it so that they do 25 times, you do 25 times increased damage to them. Then you're going to go 3 points in Innovation, 3 points into Second Wind, 1 point into Adrenaline Rush, 3 points into Haste. Now, the reason why we spec'd into all these damage to crowd control enemies, as you can see here, we have 378% damage to crowd control enemies. And the reason being is because we're going with the key passive Close Quarters Combat. Now, they reworked this. So the way this works now is it takes 40% of your damage versus crowd control bonus, and it gives you increased damage. So right now, our current damage increase is 151%. That is the max you can get if you were to get max rolls of damage to crowd control on all your gear. I actually don't have any damage to crowd control on any of my gear, and I'm sitting at like 100%. So assuming that you were lucky enough to get these already, you could easily be doing way more damage than my build. I think my build is barely touching 100%. It might be at like 101. So you can easily get 40, 50 times more damage if you were to get better rolls of crowd control. And then for the Paragon board, we're actually starting with Closer. The reason why we're starting with Closer, obviously, the damage reduction is nice, but for the new glyph that you're getting for the seasonal event, the description reads that for every core skill within range, you do increase damage. Now, I'm assuming that means whatever your class specific core skill is, and for us, it would be dexterity. And so this starting node will give us the most amount of dexterity. Now, it also reads that it grants bonus to rare nodes. And so what that means is when we end up swapping this out for the new glyph, we'll get bonus armor and we'll get bonus damage. So that's going to be perfect. And I'm pretty sure once you get it, you can slot it in right away. And it'll probably be better than this glyph as soon as you get it. So as soon as like you get the first one to drop, just go ahead and throw that in there. You should be fine. Next, we're going to go exploit weaknesses, and we're using chip. Then we're moving over to this third board. We're going cunning stratagem, and we're using diminish. This gives us bonus core skill damage, dexterity, and total armor. And then we're moving down to cheap shot. And again, we grabbed all the damage to crowd control nodes here, and we're running control. This will give us more increased damage to chill and frozen enemies. Then on this fifth board, we're going tricks of the trade, and we're going devious. This is giving us more armor, a little bit of damage to elites, and whenever we hit an enemy with an attack that applies a crowd control effect, they take 2 times increased damage up to 10%. So this is really nice. And we're making sure on both these two boards, we're grabbing the exploit weaknesses legendary node, so that way we do additional damage to vulnerable enemies. And we're doing tricks of the trade legendary node. That way our marksman skills give our twisting blades 25 times increased damage. And then lastly, we're going with no witnesses, and we're using combat. You could slot canny here if you wanted to. The only reason why I have this here is because crit strikes restore 12% of their energy costs. And so if you feel like you're not having resource issues, then you can throw canny in here, and that way you'll get another multi. And that's what I would do. But sometimes I kind of feel like my energy's a little low, so this is just nice. And now we'll go over to vampiric powers, which is actually something I want to talk about. So we're going ravenous for the attack speed, metamorphosis for the unstoppable. Now you should go a cursed touch because this Paragon board does not have exploit weaknesses. Now I don't have this, and the reason being is because I don't have total armor on my amulet yet. I still need to re-roll it. And so right now, because of that, my build is not as tanky as it should be. And so I have to run resilience here for now. Once I get total armor on the amulet, I'm going to swap off resilience and I'm going to go back to a cursed touch. So if you don't have armor on all 4 of these and you're not at least 13,000 armor, then you're probably going to need to put resilience, or you might need to take off ghost walkers and put disobedience. But I personally would rather not have to use disobedience. So there's that. Then we're going prey on the weak for the increased damage to vulnerable enemies, and then you're going undying on the heals. So anytime you're taking a ton of damage, one thing you can do is, especially when you already have this perk up that gives you the fast attack speed, you can just spam puncture at anything. It doesn't even have to be at an enemy. You can just spam it at the air, and this will heal you just from spamming puncture. And so anytime I'm hit by poison and I'm about to die, I'll just spam puncture at the air, and then I'll just be healing myself. So it's a great form of healing. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. I'll just go ahead and show some gameplay now.
Any more time? I need more time. I need more time. I'm low on energy. I'm not ready yet. I need more energy. I need more time. I'm not ready yet. I'm low on energy. I'm not ready yet. I'm low on energy. I'm not ready yet. Time to do that. I need more time. I'm out of energy. I'm not ready yet. I need more time. I need more time. I don't have enough energy. I need more time. I'm low on energy. I need more time. I'm not ready yet.